Billionaire Sons and What Their Father Left Behind. There was once a very wealthy man in Nigeria, a true billionaire. He owned successful businesses across the country and even beyond Africa. Everyone knew his name. He lived in a mansion, had dozens of cars, private jets, and workers in every state. But most of all, he had 3 sons. Tunde, the firstborn, bold and proud; Emeka, the second, always focused on numbers and business; David, the last-born, quiet but thoughtful. People everywhere called them the Billionaire Sons. They wore designer clothes, drove luxury cars, and were always in the news. Everyone believed their father would hand everything to them someday. But one morning everything changed. Their father died unexpectedly. The country was in shock. Headlines ran everywhere. The rich and powerful gathered for the funeral. Everyone expected the will to be read, and the businesses divided. But instead, something strange happened. After the burial, the family lawyer walked into the room holding 3 envelopes. No documents, no car keys, no account details, just 3 envelopes, one for each son. The lawyer said, "Your father left no property in his will, just these." Confused, the brothers opened them one by one. Tunde's envelope had a single sentence: "Go back to where I started. That's where your real inheritance is." Emeka's envelope said, "What I gave to others is greater than what I owned." David's envelope was the strangest. There were no words, just a very old photo of a little boy holding a torn nylon bag. The brothers were speechless. Tunde's journey. The very next day, Tunde packed a small bag and traveled to his father's hometown, a poor village deep in the east. His father had never spoken much about it. When he arrived, he went straight to the elders. "Please, I'm Tunde, the son of Chief Iodel. I came to ask about my father's early life." The elders looked at each other, then directed him to a quiet old woman, Mama Neka. She saw him coming and smiled with tears in her eyes. "You look just like your father when he left this village with nothing but hope," she said. She brought out an old wooden box from her hut. Inside was a dusty diary, handwritten from the first page to the last. Tunde sat and read it under a mango tree. Each page told a story: how his father slept outside, how he was laughed at for dreaming big, how he sold firewood and fetched water. But at the end of every page, one sentence was repeated: "One day I will return and build this village." Tunde closed the diary, and for the first time in his life, he cried. Emeka's journey. Emeka didn't waste time either. He followed his clue to a rural hospital deep in Kogi State, the same hospital his father once visited. There, a nurse recognized his father's name immediately. "Come," she said, and led him to a small ward. Inside was a mother praying beside her child, who had just finished surgery. "This hospital," the nurse whispered, "would not exist without your father. He donated the land, paid for the buildings, and even the medicine. He told us never to post it online or tell anyone." Emeka stood still. He had always thought his father only cared about profits and numbers. But here, in a place where his name wasn't on any wall, his father had saved lives. Tears filled Emeka's eyes. He finally understood David's truth. David stayed at home, staring at the photo over and over. The little boy, holding a nylon bag, looked poor and tired. He kept wondering, why this photo? Later that night, his mother entered his room and sat beside him. "David," she said softly, "that little boy is you." David turned to her in shock. She continued, "Your father found you when you were 2 years old, alone by the roadside in Enugu. No one knew who your real parents were. He brought you home and raised you as his own." David's hands began to shake. "He gave you his name, his love, and everything he had," she said. "That photo is the beginning of your life." David didn't say a word. He just cried. Now he knew why his envelope was empty, because his life was already full. The final letter. 2 weeks later, all 3 brothers came home. They sat together without pride, without fighting. They had changed. Then the lawyer returned, holding one last letter. It read, "Your real inheritance is not the wealth I created, it's the heart I carried. Now take what I started and continue it in your own way." Tunde stood up first and said, "I'll run the company, but I'll also return to that village. We'll build schools, roads, and clean water." Emeka smiled. "I'll create a foundation to support rural hospitals in his name." David wiped his tears. And I'll open a home for orphans and street children. I'll give others what he gave me. And for the first time in a long time, they didn't feel like billionaire sons. They felt like their father's sons.